First of all, thank you, Didi, and thank you, Michael. I appreciate this is probably the most surreal experience I've had up to this point in my life, next to getting married and having children. But the irony is that whenever you are done listening to this tape, whenever you walk out of this room, I hope that your takeaway is my very topic, and it is my passion that I could talk about this forever. And fortunately for you, I only have a few minutes, so I'm going to keep it very short. It's increasing internal importance. Now, what does that mean? What is value? First of all, let's look at the definition of value. Value is something that you feel worthy of, or something that is deserving of something else. It could be a teddy bear that you've held on to for years that you've had. It could be a car that you've saved up money for. It could be a house. There's so many things that we have materialistic value on. But the one thing I've noticed working with inmates, working with mentally handicapped, working with children, working with people with mental illness, all of them had one thing in common. The most valuable thing that they needed to see was themselves. They needed to see what was inside of them. Charlie Chaplin, a brilliant actor by many standards, quoted my favorite book, the Bible. He said in the book of Luke, he said, the kingdom of God is within man, not one man, nor a group of men, but all men. All men are created. And one of the most powerful things that we have to understand is that every single human being has value just by being alive, just by breathing, just by walking, just by living. You have value. Now, unfortunately, we're not all on the same playing field. And as much as it would be great that we did, we don't. And we're not. It's probably going to shock all of you, but I will probably never play for the NBA. I will probably never be an opera singer. I will probably never have a best-selling record of music, but I'm okay with that. Those aren't the things that make me valuable. My life is valuable. Now, I say that we're not all on the same playing field. That doesn't mean that all of us can't do something spectacular. It means that all of us don't fit in every category. So we have to understand is not just are we valuable, but where are we valuable? We can't compare ourselves to other people's standards, by other people's goals, by other people's way of living. So whenever you plant a seed in one area, it's going to seem rocky. It's not going to come up the way you want it to. You're going to get to other areas and it's going to be nothing but pain. I'm not talking about trials and tribulations. I'm talking about just pain and nothing but resistance. But whenever you find that sweet spot, whenever you find like this is where I belong. This is my area. This is my expertise. This is my niche. This is where I have value in something. And you plant that seed. Something begins to change inside of you, and not anybody else in the world is going to see it for a while. Because guess what's going to happen? Even though you water it, even though you nurture it every day, rain comes, storms, hail, lightning. And then guess what? More hail, more rain, more storms. And it's like, is this ever going to end? And no, you don't ever think it's going to end because you can't see it. It's cloudy. But what is really happening is the water that we feed to that value is not enough. We need trials to increase that value. If you think about the most lucrative businesses, if you think about foundations that were created, one of my favorites is Michael J. Fox. He has Parkinson's and he created this amazing foundation. So there's so much good that comes from somebody's pain. So that's why I always try to tell people not to ever dismiss pain, because it just means it's adding something to your story. Because whenever the right amount of rain comes in your life and gets in the soil, you start sprouting up. You end up doing something and growing to be somebody that you never even thought you could. A year ago, I would have never thought this was going to happen. I had visioned it, but it was like, yeah, maybe in a couple of years I'll get there. But thanks to the Lord, I got directed into the right people, and I withstood a lot of pain to get there. I lost a lot of people in my life. I went through financial difficulties. And the one thing that I've always been solid in is I want to be at peace. I want everything I do to make a difference. I want every experience that I have to challenge somebody else, to encourage somebody else, to give them hope. Because if my pain and my survival of it can help somebody, then it was worth it, as painful as it was. And that is fruitful. That is what I like to call the fruit of the Spirit. That's when what happens to me gets to come out and everybody gets to see what goodness is there, what value is there. And the beautiful spectrum of everything is how one person can affect another person, and another person connect and can help a few other people. And the line just keeps going on. And next thing you know, another tree is planted. Somebody else has value. Somebody else is bearing fruit. Something that you provided because you found that niche. You found that area in your life that somebody needed. You weren't trying to fit in with this crowd. You weren't trying to fit in with that crowd. You knew who you were. That's why I try to challenge people. It doesn't matter what the status quo is, because it changes all the time. It doesn't matter what these people's opinion are. You can value it to an extent, but in the end, it's just their opinion. It's their perception. That's why I like to call myself a perception coach more than I like to call myself a life coach, because everything that happens to us is according to how we perceive it. We don't see reality as it is. We see reality as we see it. It's kind of like one of my first vehicles, that I bought myself, is I got myself a white Ford F-150. And I thought, man, this thing is cool. Ain't nobody got a car truck like me. I'm driving this sucker. And the next thing I know, I'm like, there's another white truck. Where did all these white trucks come from? And it was because I was now in a white truck. So now I'm seeing all the similarities. So my point is this. If something looks deceptive, or if something looks in a way that you don't like it, all you have to do is turn your perception just a little bit. From this angle, it seems horrible and unbearable, and it's okay to process that emotion. But if you just take a step to the side, patiently wait, you get a whole vantage point, and it changes your life. And that pain ends up pouring more value into you. And then again, that value gets poured more into people. And those people get to pour into other people. And this cycle just keeps on continuing. And it's what I like to call a pandemic of effect. Yes, I know we're in the middle of a pandemic, but I like to switch everything, because what one person can go through can affect another person, and that person can affect another person. And all these things that we go through end up making the world a better place, all because we turned our perception just a little bit. Now, again, when we go through tragedy, it doesn't mean we have to hop up, all right, everything's going to be okay. No, you process. You mourn, you grieve, you work through it, but then you stand up and you say, all right, what's the next phase in my life? What's next? I read a very powerful book called The Pebble in the Shoe. And it said the most powerful word you could ever remember, you could ever use in your life, next, is being able to take where you're at and move to the next phase in your life. Everything that happens is not happening against you. It's just prepping you for the next wave. It's getting you ready for the next stage in your life that you're going to need what just happened. Like I said, last year, I lost 14 people that I was very close to, and it devastated me. And the year ended when I lost my best friend. I lost my dad, December 28th, 2020, 2 days before my birthday. And I begged my dad, no, 2 more days. You got to call my voicemail. You got to call me and you got to tell me happy birthday so I can save it. And it rocked my world. It just destroyed everything that I had been working on. But I knew that eventually it was going to help somebody else. And it's painful, as I don't ever want to go through anything like that again. I know that someday somebody's going to need that comforting ear to let them know it's okay not to be okay. It's okay to face tragedy. It's not fun. It doesn't have to be fun, but it's okay. And then you take that tragedy and it begins blossoming in your life. And it actually ends up creating value in someone else that's not even in you. I have no value in losing my dad. That's my best friend. That was the biggest man in my life. He's still my hero. But if I come across somebody who is devastated already and they lose somebody, I can empathize, not sympathize. I can empathize with them. I can understand where they're at, and it lifts them up. Possibly, just possibly, they can bear fruit from that. And then all was not lost. It's all about value. It's how you see your life. It's how you see the importance of everything you do. Your mistakes, your victories, your goals, your failures, everything. It's all a part of you. And it's a part of the story. I don't think I've ever read a victorious story where they didn't have failure, where they didn't make mistakes, where they didn't lose money. And the problem is we expect it's just going to be a roller coaster ride up, and it's not. It has ups, it has downs. It just goes around and then up and then down again and then down further. But the point is that it all eventually gets to where you're going. And if you can take that and you can look at life with that embracing concept that everything I have is valuable. Everything I go through is valuable. Everything in me is valuable. Then you will see a world that did not exist to you before, all because you began to value things that you didn't value before. And that is valuable. Thank you.